morning, everybody. Welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make U.S. Senate vegetarian bean soup based on a recipe from 1957. I'm going to be making it vegetarian by using liquid smoke as the substitute for the ham hock flavor that's normally in the soup. So we're going to try this out. Now, traditionally it's usually made with the navy beans. Those are a bit bigger. These are the small white beans, and I wanted to use these this time because what we're going to do is we're going to puree most of it, keep some of it in the bean form, and then use that as our garnish at the center of our soup. So we're going to start off with 2 cups of the small white beans or navy beans, and that's basically a pound. So an entire package of our beans. We're going to soak this overnight in water with a pinch of baking soda, and then tomorrow we will continue our mise en place and I'll show you how to make it. So, but for tonight, we've got to get these beans soaking. So here's our 2 cups, which is an entire bag, which is 1 pound, and we are putting it into the pot with cold water to cover enough. You want to have an ample amount of water because the beans are going to plump up overnight. And we're going to put a pinch of baking soda in the water to help tenderize them. Here are our beans. They plumped up overnight, and we're simply just going to drain off that liquid. I got a colander in the sink. Bring it out. All right, so we have soaked our beans overnight, and now we're going to start getting the soup made. So we are using liquid smoke. The Senate bean soup has been served in the U.S. Senate restaurant for possibly 100 years. And it's served every single day, and it's pretty traditional. It's a ham hock, the navy beans or the small white beans. And since I wanted to make this vegetarian, we want to get that smoky flavor that the ham hock would normally provide. And the way we can do that is with this product, liquid smoke. So this has that flavoring of the ham hock would have, and this will simply add it in and it'll give us that flavoring without the ham. We have our onions. We have 14 ounces of our onions. We have 8 ounces of celery. So if I want to make this soup again, sometimes I increase it for a much larger group, so I always prefer to have the weighted amount. But if you're doing it at home, 1 cup of Spanish onion, 2 cups of celery. We have our 1 clove of garlic. We're going to mince the cilantro and use about a tablespoon, and then our kosher salt. And we also need an 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper. We're going to start off by sauteing our onions. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of our olive oil to the pan over medium-high heat, and we'll warm that up and then start sauteing. All right, so we're going to start off. We've got the pan heating up. I'm going to add the olive oil, and then the first thing we're going to put in is our garlic. And this, we just need 1 clove, but I do want to release all the juices. So you just take your knife and hit it with the back of your hand, really crush it down, and then you can finally chop it up. By doing that, smacking it, that helps to release all of the flavor of the garlic, and then we can add that into our pot. Got our wooden spoon. This going. Okay, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil to our pan. Warm it up. And then the first thing, our garlic's going to go in. And then we're going to add, so we've got our garlic going in, and we're going to add in our onions. We want to saute those until they're translucent. Make sure you stir. We're beginning to get some golden brown color on these onions, so let's get in our celery, and then we're going to have to stir that and cook this until the celery is nice and tender. Our celery are nice and tender now, so what we're going to do at this stage is we're going to take our beans, we're going to add them back to the pot, and we're going to add in 3 quarts of water. And we're going to bring this to a boil and cook it for 2 hours. So I need to add 2 more quarts of water. And then bring it up to a boil, turn it down to simmer, and let it cook for 2 hours. All right, so we have our cilantro. We're going to chop this up fine, and I removed the stems. Now, I save all of the stems from my cilantro and I freeze it to then add to my vegetable stock. So any of the leafy bits I use to chop up to put into the recipe, and I save the stems for our stock. So we're just gonna finely chop this, and this will probably yield a tablespoon. Getting this prepared while our soup is still cooking. Now this has been simmering for about an hour and 10 minutes. We want to go for 2 full hours to make sure the beans are cooked all the way. So I'm going to just keep stirring it every so often. And after the 2 hours, we're then going to add the cilantro, the salt, and the pepper. Our soup has been simmering for 2 hours now. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in our seasonings. So we've got our pepper and our kosher salt, our cilantro, we're gonna get all of that. Importantly, our liquid smoke, 1 teaspoon. That's gonna add that ham hock, meaty, bacon, smoky flavor. So we'll get all of those in. We're gonna stir this together, and then we're actually gonna simmer this for another hour. Okay, and then once that has happened, we're gonna remove probably about a half a cup or a cup of the soup, and then we will puree the rest of it. All right, it's simmered for another hour, and we're gonna reserve, I'm gonna do a ladle full of this, simply because that's kind of be our bit of a garnish. We're gonna puree the rest of this, and it'll be a nice smooth, and then just in the center of each soup, we can put a little bit of this bean area and make it look fancy. So I have my immersion blender right here. So I'm gonna get this in, and we'll start pureeing it. Now, if you do not have one of these, you'll need to turn the heat off and then use a blender to puree it. If you don't have a blender, just serve the soup as it is at this point. Finished pureeing it, and I tasted it, of course, so we have to adjust the seasoning. We only have a half teaspoon of salt in here, so I'm gonna add another half teaspoon because I think we need the salt needs to come out. Now I've never had this soup before. This is pretty bland sort of soup. I'm wondering if in future, what I would probably do is I would add more cilantro and give it a little more flavor. So it's a warm, hearty soup for the winter. It's very, very hearty and comforting. And I'm gonna serve it in a bowl with this, and then I'm probably gonna garnish it. And I think maybe a couple splashes of some hot sauce. That will make, bring it up a little bit and make it really bright. Here is our beautiful U.S. Senate vegetarian bean soup. And I'm gonna add a little bit of the unpureed beans of the soup right to the center as sort of like our garnish. Vary the textures of it. And then we're gonna add a little bit of cilantro, a couple sprays of cilantro. We have cilantro in the soup, so it's always good to garnish whatever you're making with something that is in the item as one of the components of it. Now, this is fine, but I thought it was lacking a little kick. So I wanna splash it with some hot sauce. Now, if you're not a fan of hot sauce, you don't need it at all. But I've got these different hot sauces, and I'm thinking that maybe I'm gonna try our Texas hot sauce, Texas Pete hot sauce. This is a pretty good one. Or the Tabasco. So the green Tabasco. And I'm gonna use this one. The green Tabasco is milder. So if you'd like a mild hot sauce, you can just a couple splashes of the mild one. But Texas Pete today wins it. So I'm just gonna make a couple drops of our Texas Pete. That's all we need, and that will brighten up this soup and give it a little extra heat and flavor. There we go. I don't want too much. There. So I hope you will enjoy this soup and are inspired to cook in the kitchen. Take care, everybody. Here is our recipe. 1 bag of, we use small white beans, which is 1 pound or 2 cups. We use a pinch of baking soda in the boiling water to soften up the beans, a teaspoon of liquid smoke, 1 tablespoon of cilantro, which I recommend if you're gonna make this, probably double that, make it 2 tablespoons. 1 cup of Spanish onions, 2 cups of celery, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 clove of garlic, a whole teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper. Voila, enjoy. For more recipe demonstrations, please click like and subscribe to Chef Victoria Loves YouTube channel and have fun in the kitchen. Thank you.